Hey, let's talk about preaching again. I've said this before, that I recognize that preaching as a task within the pastoral trade can be a little touchy for pastors, and you know, it's close to our heart for a variety of reasons. But the one thing we don't talk about enough, at least within church leadership circles, is how preaching is an art form. Now, there's probably, if you've been doing this for any period of time, you'd scratch your beard and kind of nod and approve. Oh yeah, that's true, it is an art form. Well, okay. If that's the case, if it really is an art form, and like I said, I think that it is, then there are certain things that we know about art, artwork, and artists that apply to pastors that explain some of the reasons, it explains some of why we get a little touchy about it, why we're a little sensitive when it comes to our preaching and our preaching style. So I'm going to offer a few thoughts. In random, there's not in any order to this. These are just things that have crossed my mind over the years. So first is this. When you produce a piece of art, and you can talk to musicians, you can talk to visual artists, you can talk to performance artists, when you produce a piece of artwork, you are putting a piece of yourself in front of other people for judgment. We need to be careful as preachers, because we're in the business of partnering with God. I get that, but I'm setting the kind of spiritual piece sort of off to the side for a moment. I want to deal with the human side. The one thing that they cannot teach you in seminary or Bible college in your preaching course is how buck naked you feel Sunday after Sunday. And if you're trying to produce anything that is remotely fruitful for the kingdom, you are putting a ton of yourself into that message. That is artwork. You are an artist. And as such, you will feel, and here's the word we don't like, vulnerable. You're going to feel vulnerable. Because you've spent all this time and energy, and you're presenting it to a group of people, how big or how small, and you want it to be effective. You want some type of emotional response. So you're going to feel vulnerable. That leads me to my second thought here, is that art attempts to elicit an emotional response from the audience or from its viewers. And so probably one of the worst things for an artist is when people say nothing. I heard one artist, I think it was a visual artist, who put it this way. I don't care if you love it or hate it, I just don't want you to ignore it. And I gotta be honest, that's kind of how I feel about preaching. That I don't mind if people hate it. If it gets them to think a little bit more deeply about their faith, about God, about their discipleship, I'm great with that. But it's when they say nothing that just feels like a death knell. It's awful. It's an awful feeling. Well, you know, it'd be easy to go, well, that's just your pride, David. No, I think it's the artist inside of me that wants to make some type of an impact in this world. And because of that, when there's no feedback at all, when there's no emotional response to it, I really wonder, have I accomplished the task that I set out to do? Am I doing the thing that I am hoping for? And furthermore, what I think God's hoping for? You know, what's some type of response? And I think that's just super important. So there is this vulnerability to it, but there's also this deep desire that we have is to be somehow, the word I keep coming back to is impactful, that we're actually trying to make a dent in the universe and try to advance the kingdom of God, however you want to put that. But that's all artwork. And I don't think we talk about that. So, two thoughts. I probably have more, but those are the two that came to my mind. And I hope that you wrestle with that you understand that you have an artist in you. If you're any type of preacher, if you value the task of preaching in your ministry, if it's not, the thing that you struggle with the most, but it's one of those things that you really enjoy, then you've got to come to grips with the emotional component, that vulnerability that you all feel. And frankly, you need to take that before the Lord, because if you get that out of whack, it's really easy for the dark powers to come in and begin to manipulate it, and then you think it's all you, and then you feel guilt and shame when it doesn't go the way that you want to. There's all sorts of ramifications to that, but you got to start with that basic understanding that, no, this is artwork. And I recommend a couple of things. There's a great little book called The War of Art. It's not Sun Tzu's The Art of War. It's the opposite title, The War of Art. That's a really good one to read, because I think it deals fairly with what it means to be an artist. There's another book, I wish I could remember the name, but it's by the dancer Twyla Tharp. It's quite a book. Related to art and artwork. And so I'd recommend you do a little bit of digging on those things, just so that you can improve your craft, because you understand yourself more as an artist. So anyway, hopefully that stirs the pot just a little bit today. Grace and peace.